Hello everyone. In today's lab, I'm going to cover how to unwrap the shield and eventually get into texturing it. I might, depending on time, have to do this in two separate videos, but we'll see where it goes. So I've got my shield here. You only need to do one. I just have these saved from the last time we left off in the previous lab, and the only things I've done since then, I'll freeze transformations on this. I think I named them. I added them to different layers, and I've added a color so you could differentiate the ones. I'm going to be focusing on unwrapping this first. If I have time, I'll do the one in red as well, but I won't bother with this one since it's, maybe I will. It all depends, but I'll definitely do this one. In this video, if I have time, I'll do this one, and I'll also see if I have enough time, I'll unwrap that one, even though I don't need to, because this is all we need for the submission. This one or this one, depending on how you modeled your shield. So this one or this one. Now, what I will do first is I'm going to go to my panels and go to saved layouts and go to Persp UV editor. So we've covered a number of different ways to texture, right? And what I did there was I just tapped F on the keyboard to focus on my objects, both in the UV editor and perspective view. So I've showed you a couple different ways to unwrap objects using a various number of different tools. We covered the spherical unwrap tool, the planar unwrap tool, the camera-based unwrap tool, the automatic unwrap tool, I think I already said planar, best plane unwrap tool, cylindrical, and if might be it. I give or take, you get the idea. So we've covered a number of these different tools. I'll try to incorporate them as best as I can into this lab. But in certain scenarios, it's just easier to work with other ones. And like I was showing you, you can really unwrap anything however you'd like, especially with those cut and sew tools and cut and move and sew, to customize your unwrap. So just by looking at this, and I have my little secondary shaded on here on my UV second little, it's like a little Tetris piece, right? That little corner piece in Tetris, except this one is like a light green. So that gives me my shaded mode on, so I can see what faces are flipped, or overlapped. So I know red is flipped. In this area, this pink and purple kind of dark area, not only are some of them flipped, but they're also overlapping. So we have overlapping UVs we need to fix. We also, I know a couple things just based off the last lab we did, just at a quick glance. If you remember the sphere, I know what the sphere looks like, the default UVs of it when you create a sphere. Obviously, we deleted half of a sphere on the bolts, which I know all of these overlapping flipped, maybe not flipped, so I do have some blue ones here that are good, and the red ones on this side are red because when I duplicated these and I combined the object and then I centered my pivot to the x equals 0 on the grid and flipped it at -1, I also flipped the UVs by flipping it sort of inside out to go to the other side. So that's why those ones in red are flipped at -1, because that's just how the software does it. It's just kind of like turning it inside out on the other side. So that's what we did there. So I know these all right here are my bolts. So I'll start just by moving these. I'm going to go to Tools, Move UV Shell Tool, and I'm just going to kind of drag them out of the way. So if I can, I'll try to keep them in order too. And these are all going to come back. This is going to be that one, that one, that one's this one, that one's blue, so that one's that one, that one, that one. And once I unwrap all of these, it'll make a lot more sense. So this is that one, and you can kind of see where I'm going with it. Something like that. So that's how they look in order, just to keep a little frame of reference. These are in the same locations. Now they don't look like it. They don't look like these bolts yet because we haven't unwrapped them, but I know what they are. So now I'm down to the shield. I'll know that this is the back part, it looks like. I can drag that off. And then here is the front part right in here. So that's good to know. This is a bunch of it. So it's got some sides. So this one really needs to be chopped up. But and then there's all these pieces here, which look like they're all the extruded pieces coming outward that we did, which kind of makes sense here. Let's get that out of the way. And then this one is just this part of this side. So there's a number of different, and I even have one more. So this is how Maya basically chopped this thing up in the UVs, and it won't let me move it. Oh, there's... Okay. And there's a bunch of different little segments on here, so I'm not going to bother. It's just I got to make sure I'm selecting right on it, and there's too many pieces there, but it looks like it chopped it up pretty good. You'll see there's just a bunch of different little sections here. So what I'm going to do, I feel like it's probably easiest to start on the back. So what we'll do now, tools, move UV shell tool. I pretty much know this is, or is it this one? Nope. This one, nope. I pretty much know this is the entire back piece. Now it's got some extra UVs on it, but now I could sort of cut and sew and it would make things a little bit easier, but I think to learn, it's easier to do it the way I'm going to show you. So I'm going to show you the way most people learning would understand this best. So instead of going through cutting and moving and sewing UVs is going to be a nuisance without a little practice. We're going to try to limit the amount of cuts and sews we do. I have it in 3 mode only to make it easier for me to select the edges because we have all those tight beveled edges. And I'm going to show you a little bit quicker way. So I just hand selected these each on the top. Now I can select this much faster if I'm going to hold shift because I want to keep that selection. I know I need to click on that one, and then I'm going to scroll down way down here, and I'm going to double click that, and now it's just selected that entire edge. Now that's only going to work if you have clean topology. I'm going to select that one, and then I'm going to go to the top and double click that, and now I've selected the entire outside, the hard parts to sort of grab and see. Especially in 1 mode, it would be a nightmare to zoom in and do all that. So 3 mode gives you a little bit of leniency to see your edges a little bit better, especially when they're beveled. But I'm going to hold shift, I'm going to click on this one, I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to simply select this entire part of the shield, just the back face of it, right? Selecting one, double clicking, all in the same row, and this makes selecting much faster and easier. So I've selected the entire back face of it, right? Now, if I click on here in my perspective view, it's actually going to center me. So using a camera-based UV unwrap here would be perfectly fine and legit. And it makes it simple to see UV camera-based. And now I can see that exact shape. It's exactly how I have it portrayed here in my perspective view. Another way I could do this is the planar. Now you're going to see it's doing it from the center long ways. I need to flip that around. Let's try on rotate. Now I have my polyplanar tool basically selected, so I can make adjustments to this. Let's see if I make that 0, and that looks a lot better. Or because I have these red faces, maybe I want to flip it to 180 degrees. So now I can see, now it's projecting it the proper way and I'm getting blue faces. Now you'll also notice it's totally weirdly stretched and wonky looking, right? There's these handles here on the edges, and I can go ahead and click that and drag it out. And typically you're going to want to drag it out to about the size of your projection, maybe a little bit more to be a little bit lenient on it. But the more I stretch it, I get more distortion. So however you think, you could do it this way as well. I think I'm going to just go with something like that. I feel like that's a pretty good size to do it at. It's pretty much the same size. So either way works fine. And now I'm just going to click and drag that out of the way. Now, the other thing I need to do, and I'm going to do this each one at a time, in my UV toolkit, or I can access it up here. I'm going to show you both ways. Under Unfold, we can click Unfold, and it's going to unfold it nice and clean. Now, before moving forward, I'd like to just show you what it looks like with the checkerboard on it. So I'm going to hold right click and assign new material. Actually, before I do that unfold, let me undo once or twice. Okay, so I'm going to go to my object mode and I'm going to assign a new material. I don't want this to have any shine or sheen or anything like that. So I'm going to click on Lambert, and I'm starting to build my little history here, but I'm going to go to my Lambert 2 and call this checkerboard material. I could even call it checkerboard Lambert material. Either one's fine. And under color, I'm going to select the color here, the little checkerboard next to it, and I'm going to click checker. And I'm also going to tap 6 on my keyboard. So you'll see here, I've got these a little bit more rectangular shape than they are square a little bit, right? And I've noticed this one's a little bit bigger than this one and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my tools, move UV shell tool. I just showed this to you, so it's a quick little repeat. I showed you how to do it in your UV toolkit under Unfold. You can also do it under Tools and click Unfold. And it didn't work. Look at that. Let's try that again. Tools, move UV shell tool. Tools, Unfold. Unfold 3D context, object, text, unfold, CV not found. Okay. So let's see if it works from this one. So it works on this one. For whatever reason, it didn't work on this one. No idea why. So I'm going to stick with using this one. If you hold shift and left click, it'll bring up some different tools. I'm just going to leave it on Unfold 3D. It seems to be working just fine. But I just wanted to show you could do that as well. So that is the other place to find it. I don't know why it's coming up with an error, but I'm going to leave it because I'm not too concerned about it right now. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to continue pushing forward. And actually, before I do that, let's go to Tools and move UV Shell Tool. What is it under? If they still have it. Smooth. So Tools, if let's just pretend this Unfold button stopped working for whatever reason. We also have another way. This Smooth button, I can actually unfold. Now this is totally unfolded. It can't go anymore. You can also relax, and you're not going to really need, you see how it like kind of crumples it up like a piece of paper. We're not going to worry about it right now, but that's another way to unfold. And it's super useful. But once it kind of reaches its peak, it's kind of won't unfold any more than it can. So now you can see I've got my checkerboard here, looking much cleaner in terms of proportions on these squares, and you want all these squares to be roughly about the same. You know, they should be as proportionate as possible. So one square should be, if not identical, very, very close to the next one. I'm going to go in 5 mode so I don't have all those checkers distracting me. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of work my way around this shield. So there's a number of different ways I can do this. So I'm going to go to my face mode, and I'm going to turn this off for now so I can see my model a little bit better. It's hard to see that white line. I think that's it. It's just difficult to see. Yep. And you'll notice here how these parts are orange. I've selected around them. So these are 4 different UV shells here. So this will be, this one would definitely want to be done this way. And you can start to see how weird it's looking. It's a little bright for me. Let's do this. That checkerboard's a little hard to, I'm going to assign existing. There we go. I'm going to use my standard surface for now just to make it easier for you to all see. And now you can sort of start to see these white bold borders around it, and that's where the seams are on our model. So in this case, we used our planar, our camera base on the last one. Let me go ahead and try to show you the cylindrical. This is an okay spot to use cylindrical. I'm just going to start to double click around these. Now, if your topology is messed up, you might start seeing it wrap around the model in strange places. In which case you'll have to manually select them or do that section by section where I click here and then double click here. But to make it move a little bit faster. And now I think I've got all the edges I want selected for this side. Yep. So now I've got the entire outer band selected. I guess I'll call it the outer band on this one selected. And you'll notice I have all types of spots in here. I've got some orange on there, here. They're all over the place. So this is a absolutely necessary spot to use in Unwrap tool. I'm going to show you the cylindrical tool here. We'll see how well it does. But we're going to go to Tools, UV, and we are going to do cylindrical. Now you'll notice it's unwrapping it this way. I want it to do a cylindrical unwrap from the top. Now, if I go to my channel box and I have my projection tool, I haven't deselected or whatever, I'm going to go ahead and rotate it on, let's try X. So I want to rotate it negative 90 degrees on X. So I want it to unwrap cylindrically from the top because it does have somewhat of a cylindrical way about it. And then on the bottom, I want to see where the seam is. Now, you'll notice it's just a hair off. I don't know if I'll be able to get it. It's 0.01 wouldn't even do it, so 0.001 got me right on that edge. So you'll notice I'm right on that middle seam, which I really, really like where it is. And that was just playing around with rotating this at X, and then moving the projection center of the X just a fraction of a number, right? And that looks good to me, and I like where the seam is. Now, if I didn't, let's just say that's good, I would have to go in here. Well, you don't have to, but it's going to be a lot cleaner. I personally, to make it, professional, I would cut this edge to make my seam. And then I would move and sew this edge here. So that's another way. Oh, of course it didn't work. Unless I didn't cut and sew, move and sew. Maybe I went to the wrong tool. might have went to the Move UV Shell tool. So move and sew. And now you'll see that I've got just that border right there, and it's all here. And I could go to Tools, Move UV Shell tool, and then click my little unfold button. I want to try that unfold button again. That is so weird. Unfold 3D context, object text, unfold CV content not found. That's weird. So I'm going to just stick with this one. They're both the same exact tool. I don't know what's going on with it, but Maya can be tricky that way sometimes. So I feel like that's why they have so many different places to place these tools, because sometimes they know that the script is just like, we don't feel like working on that tool today, or that tool just takes the day off or something, but whatever. Anyway, so now I've got this unwrapped, and it's good to go. If I wanted to see if I can smooth it out a little bit more, I can't. And if I do a relax, this might be a spot where it might work. I can relax it and try to get it a little bit straighter. And you kind of get these different results. But I like how this one turned out better. This is a really clean unwrap. Now, whichever one I like, I'm going to show you another way to do this. Select my arrow tool. Go to my face and select these faces. It makes it great for selecting. So if I wanted to ever do anything extra to it or extrude out or something, I can. But now that I've got these faces, I just want to see if it's going to unwrap a better way. So I'm going to hold spacebar, go to UV, and do planar. And I'm going to flip this, I forget, 0 or negative. No, I think it was just 0. Let's see. And then drag this out. And then go Tools, Move UV Shell tool. I'll select it, and then I'm going to go to my UV toolkit and click. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to show you how to do it straight from here using my tool smooth, just in case yours isn't working for any reason. And now I can unfold it that way too. And you'll see, whichever way you prefer, you can go with. If this makes more sense to you visually, you can unfold it this way, so you have, or you can do it that long way. Either one is acceptable. They're both perfectly fine. I'm gonna keep mine how it was. Oh, it won't let me go any further. So tool or UV, I have my faces selected. I liked it with the cylindrical. Either way is fine. What was it? -90? Oh, no, it was on rotate X, -90. And then let's just see where they put that seam, and it was 0.001 and it worked. Yep. I like this one a little bit better. I feel like I'll be able to save some more space in my 0:1 ratio, because I'm going to have a bunch of these larger faces in there already. But realistically, either way is perfectly acceptable. Whatever you prefer and whatever is easier for you to understand and things, because we're going to be we're going to be texturing these. And now I'm going to bring this to the top here. I could even rotate it to show you. I'm going to go to my UV toolkit and show you unfold. Oh, I meant transform. And I'm going to rotate it 180. And there we go. So now I've rotated 180 degrees, and you can see how that plays together, right? You can see this is how it works. These ends just go straight down. If we had it in that previous shape, you would notice that it's all, whatever. So, and that's the back side of it, right? So here's our back side of it right here, and then we have our outer border. What do I call it? Outer layer, whatever you want to call it. So this one in the front, I mean, it looks like it might be, but you can never be too sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and see how this selects, because I know at the bottom Oh no, it worked perfectly. So I can select these edge loops very fast. And I'm going to select it up to, you know, the face up to that white border outline. And this one is either a planar or camera-based projection. I'll use camera-based. I think I used it once and I showed cylindrical twice or whatever. So this time I'm going to switch it up and just do camera-based. And what I did was I selected all the faces on the outside, switched to my front view, right? Well, in my perspective view, hold spacebar, UV, and do camera-based. And now you'll see I've got this clean looking exactly how it looks in my camera viewport. I'm going to go to Tools, Move UV Shell Tool, select it, drag it over, and I'm going to hit the unfold button, and bada bing, bada boom. And I could also go to Tools and Smooth, because for whatever reason this unfold button isn't working for me. But if I go to Tools and Smooth, I can unfold it that way as well. And I can always try to press unfold. And it's doing, you know, if you don't like the way it looks, let's see what it looks like on the, I'm getting some weird dipping in here. For all I know, that's how the mesh is, and I'm just not noticing it, but let's press 1 on the keyboard. You see how it goes, do, do, do. Zing, zing. And this was just using my other one. So maybe I'll look into it. I'm going to start right here. I'll cross that bridge a little bit later if I need to have the proportions on that checkerboard show up a little bit better. But let's go ahead and turn that on real quick. I tapped 6 on my keyboard, but I'm going to do Assign Existing and Checkerboard Lambert Material. And you'll see where I'm starting to get some of these checkers. Now when I'm doing this, I always like to start with these to be pretty large, so I can get a better understanding of what they look like, right? And how my squares are looking. So I'll turn off shading, wireframe on shaded, and you can see that these squares are all looking pretty good. They're all, and you'll see where you have your seams right here and right here on the back. And now I'm going to continue pushing forward. I'm going to switch back, Assign Existing Material, to that AI or Standard Surface 1 material. Get a little darker gray so you can see my selections a little bit better. And you can also check, make sure your faces are right using that secondary Tetris tool, the shaded. And then this one is, what's the official name? UV distortion. So your UV distortion, and you'll see that the white is looking really good, whereas the red is not, and the blue is not great either. So let's push on through, and I'm going to go back to it looking like this. So this is another easy spot to start to unwrap. I'm just going to tap 3 on my keyboard, and now I've selected that entire section. Again, this one you could do the cylindrical from the top if you wanted, but it would look a little weird. You could do the planar, camera based, whatever you prefer, whatever's easiest for you. So if I hold my spacebar, go to UV, camera best, let's try best plane and see if that does anything. It might be weird. Didn't even work. I don't know. I haven't unwrapped this, so I'm just gonna press enter just to get it out of my way. I don't even know what just happened, but it actually did it. So let's, I'm gonna undo that because I don't know exactly what happened there. You'll notice here where it's selecting, it looked like part of the edges here. You'll see this is all these sections, a couple sections over here. It's kind of messy, so we need to clean all that up. We already know what this part is here because of all the hollowed out circles. That is our this part of the shield here where we deleted the faces to add those bolts in. But again, you can do this however you like. I'm not a big fan of the UV, the best playing tool. It seems to work perfectly fine, but I just don't understand how I already have the faces selected. I can't just press enter. I don't know. So I'm going to go to planar. Planar is a really, really good and common tool. And what I'm going to do here is, I forget if I got to do 0 or 180. And I'm going to drag this out. And you'll see I'm getting that shape. I'm happy with that. Tools, move you, tool, oh, just switch the move tool, that's fine. And I'm going to do my unfold down here. And now I've got that inside piece all as one piece. Now, let's just say you wanted it to look like more like this section. You could cut it down here on that center edge, right? If I go in here or here, hard to see those. Oh. And I could try like the cut and then tools, move UV shell tool to select the tool and then try and unfold again. And you'll see I get that long stretching UV shell. I'm going to stick with that. I kind of like it. This one's on the interior, but I want to make it much, much larger. Something like that. And now you can see I've got the inside of the shield. I think this is actually, that might actually be the top. Yeah, that's the top because that's where the bottom is. So that's fine. I'll leave it like that for now. You could always try that, like I showed you before, tools, the smooth, and see what happens. Unfold, nothing. So I'm good with that. The next thing I'm going to do is continue pushing forward, and I'm going to start to select the faces on the front. I'm not going to worry about the bolts yet. I'll probably do the bolts last. And I'm going to go ahead and start by selecting on the outside. Again, I have my 3 mode on. And this, if I were to click this one and double click here, it's going to start selecting faces I don't want it to. So this is a one where I need to kind of hand pick. And see, that one won't do it either. So I like to start by selecting the outside. These I know are all pretty simple because they're all perfect edge loops. And I'm going to go ahead and select the face here and the face here. Again, I'm in 3 mode. It makes it much easier. If I was in 1 mode, I'd have to be zoomed in pretty far to get that accurately selected. You could do it. It's just a little bit faster in 3 mode. In my personal opinion, you can see the geometry a little bit easier. And I'm just selecting these around each face. This one's probably not going to do it yet. So I come down here. I'm a little worried about this edge. I saw that when I was modeling it as well. Let me just tap one real quick just to see where I'm at. accidentally pressed X on the keyboard. I hope it didn't do anything weird. Accidentally selected a face somewhere else. But I'm zooming inside of the model just to make sure I don't have anything funny going on. Okay. Seems legit. Oh, I was in the wrong spot. I need to be right here. And this is me just double checking to make sure I got kind of no funny business, and it's hard to tell. 3 on the keyboard. Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, just double checking. Wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. And here, I'm going to come around here. And do I need to select one more? I think I'm going to see if I can select this. Hopefully this one will go all the way around without doing anything weird. That seemed to work. So I've selected all the faces here. I can do a planar, I could do a camera-based. Camera-based is just going to be a little bit faster for me because I don't have to play around with any of the other tools. And my camera-based UV shell is right there. So we're almost done with this. I know it's a little tedious, but it's really not that hard when you break it down into smaller parts to reach the big one. It looks like I accidentally selected something in here. It looks like I accidentally selected the wrong set of faces somewhere. So that's interesting. Let's just see what it does on an unfold. And that's probably going to happen to you as well. So another way you could do this is if I wouldn't let me go back far enough. So I'm going to go to my face. I'm going to select this arrow tool. I always find it best to select the arrow tool over here and then go to whichever I want to grab. So now I know I have these faces selected. I am going to double check. I think it was from that final circle, the last one I did, because I don't remember me selecting these accidentally any other time. And it might be easier for you to do this instead of cut and sew and move edges, so that's why I'm going back to show it to you this way. It would probably be faster to do the cut. It could be, it all depends on what you're most comfortable with. But this is a safe way to make sure because you can visually see it pretty easily on the model. I find this to be the easiest way to teach this, and then when you get really comfortable you can whiz through unwrapping. See, how did this all get selected? This is going to happen to you too, I know it. Trust me, I know it. Now, so what I'm going to do real quick, because I'm not 110% sure I have everything selected properly, I'm going to press Shift-I. And now I can see I have these faces selected somehow, so I'm going to press Control-Z to exit that Shift-I mode. I totally missed these. And now I can double check again. Shift-I to see what I have selected. Control-Z, and it's like I don't have these ones selected. I missed that. That's going to be probably the biggest tedious thing for you. I'd say that looks right. I hope you agree with me. I'd say that looks right. So let's try this again. UV, I'm going to do camera based after all that. Go to my tools, move UV shell tool. I'm going to just click and drag it out of the way and click unfold. And now I've got a clean UV there. So I'm going to drag this up. Something like that. Pretty good size, right? Should be pretty equivalent to this size. I'm not worried about it yet because I'm going to show you another cool tool here shortly. So now I've got that. Now, I'd say it's a safe point to really just quickly go back and check your assign existing material, your checkerboard, just to make sure all your checkerboards are looking proportionate in terms of the size of the square. I'd say it's looking clean as a whistle so far. So we're off to a great start here. And we just have to finish up these last couple segments of it, okay? So now I'm going to push forward again, and I'm going to assign existing. I'm going to go back to my standard surface. And I think I left off on this section. Say that's pretty good. Again, I'm just going to whiz through the rest of this. Using my UV camera based kind of saves me a little bit of time, I think. And if I want it to look like the other ones, which I kind of do because that's how I did these sort of outer band ones. If I click on my arrow tool, go to my edge. Now this is, if you wanted to keep it like this, that's totally fine. Just run a quick unfold on it. Just want to double check I have those selected, which I do. I'm going to cut those. I'm going to go to cut, and then tools, move UV shell tool. I'm going to select the tool and click unfold. And now I've got that unwrapping around. Seems pretty thin. Maybe it is that thin. Let's see. It doesn't seem right to me. Drag this off. Unfold. Tools, smooth. Let's see what that does. Nothing. Let's relax it a little bit. Try unfold again. I'm not loving the results on this. I'm gonna go to my face mode. Oh, that's why. I thought it was that one. I had it right. I was like, what's going on? All right, so I had it right. Sorry about that. I got a little confused for a second. So this is my unfold here, and it looks like it's all good. Tools, move UV shell tool. This is that part of the shield from before that I might have accidentally selected. Yeah, we're good there. So you can see where my seams are. Clean seams everywhere, and then I just have to go to the front part of this model, but tools, move UV shell tool. Rotate that a little bit, scale it. This isn't going for perfection just yet in terms of keeping all the checkerboards proportionate to one another. Now, what am I left with? The front face. So this should be a fairly simple one. This one, I'm going to just go to my front. Let's double check. Shift I, make sure I got all those ones selected. I do. And UV, planar, camera base, cylindrical, any one of those will work. Camera base is just a little bit faster for me right now. This one I'm not going to cut on the edge, because it's not on an interior or exterior seam kind of where it ends nice and cleanly there. This one I'm going to keep so I don't have a seam there just as it is, other than unfolding it, because I don't want to have a seam here on the front. It's a big major portion of it. Click unfold. Looks good to me. I know this one's a little bit smaller than that one, but that's fine. So when I get to it, I'll probably when I have them all the same size, I might leave that one inside of that one and try to sort of Humpty Dumpty it if I can, if they're compatible as soon as I get these sizes all the same on the checkerboard. But that's going to be the next step. We can do that pretty quickly and easily. I am on to the next part of the inside. I hope I've got these lined up properly. Just selecting these edge loops makes it pretty simple. Let's see. Now is that part of it? Yeah, I'd say that goes here. So that should do that one. Again, I'm going to try to just go a little bit faster. UV, camera based. On this one, because it's on the inside, I'm going to cut that edge on the center because it's on the inside of it. I don't have to, by the way. Like I've mentioned that before, you really don't have to do it, but this is how I'm going to do it. You can unwrap all of these like that, and I'm totally fine with it. And do cut tools, move UV shell tool, click it again, and unfold. And now I've got another piece. I'm just going to drag it up here. And I'm down to this part of the shield. And if I was what's this part? I knew it. I knew it. There is a face in here, so I want to say this one and this one. Let's just see what happens. I'm going to cut and sew, or move and sew, excuse me. I know it's on this edge. It's so weird. Maybe I'll leave that one alone for now. Come back to it when I have the rest of this cleaned up. So, and what is this part? Did I miss something here? I may have. So those faces, didn't I just unwrap this part? This is going to happen to you as well. Oh, okay. So that's we're good there. That's the front. So that's the part we're doing right now. So that I'm not too concerned about. That's good news. I'm going to start by doing these thinner inside ones first. Or did I say inside? I meant outside. Outside one. Outside the outer layer. And then I'm going to do that quick double click to quickly select these faces. I feel like visually learning this is the easiest way to do this. Holding spacebar, UV. I'm going to do camera base just because it saves me a step. I'm going to go to tools here, move UV shell tool, select the tool, or select the shell, drag it over here, unfold, make it a little bit bigger, and we are rocking and rolling. The last part I have, besides this one little questionable face I have, is the bolts, and those are going to be easy to select. So the first thing I'm going to do, because you see them all here, I have almost half of them blue and the other half red, so I have to flip a couple of them. So tools, move UV shell tool, select. I could do one at a time. It's not letting me shift select. So select one, modify. Is it in here? I think it's under flip. Yep, there it is. So I'm going to do that to each one. Tapping G on my keyboard is the last tool used. Modify, flip. There we go. So now they're all blue. Pretty simple, right? I'm going to select my arrow tool again, hold right click, go to face, and I'm going to select all of these. Right now I know I've got all of the very simple. That's pretty cool. I just went into isolate mode, kind of holograms the rest of it because it's showing it in that UV display or whatever in the shaded. But you'll see I've got just these selected, which is really, really cool and nice. So I'm going to, from here, you guessed it, I'm just going to do UV camera based. I could have done each one individually, but this is going to be a lot easier for me. And I'm going to go to tools, move UV shell tool. I try to deselect that one. Perfect. And then I have all of these selected. Unfold. Boom. They should all be good. And if you want to try this, oh, don't let me do one at a time. So that's fine. So I'm pretty well happy about these results here. So I'm going to scale these bolts up, keep them in the same shape, and just go ahead and drag them over here. And now for my final little mystery face. I have one little tiny face left. And modify flip. So now it's at least facing the right way, so I can maybe distinguish 1 and 2. Oh, that's neat. I can see exactly where it is here. Where does it? So my thought process right now is, what is this thing connected to? Do I even need this face? Is it an accidental face that I added? It's not that one. I knew this going into it too. I remember me looking at it from the modeling and I was like, where is this face? Why is it here? Does it keep my entire model together? Do I really need it? It looks like I kind of do. Let's check something really quickly. If I drag it down. So I don't even know if I need this face. Yes, I do. So I am going to, now that I have a little bit better visual reference of it. Oh, very sensitive because I'm in a small area. I'm going to use my multi-cut tool and cut a line down the edge of it there to make it a two triangles. It technically was a quad, but it was just really, really strange. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's a little weird too, and that happened from the bevel, so it's okay, but I know now I'm gonna want it on this one because I know this hard. Oh, wow. I could probably. So I'm going to cut that seam in the middle and I am going to move and sew those two. And that should I'm gonna have to unfold this again. That's what it is. Tools, move UV shell tool, unfold. And now I can see that a little bit better. So that is this face, and it all, that works out. So if you have a question like that for me, be sure to, if you send me something very minute, and, try to take a screenshot of what you're looking at, and also send me the Maya file. So if you do have any questions that are difficult to see or find like that, we'll just shoot it over to me with a screenshot of what the area you're trying to look at. Maybe you could, draw an arrow on the screenshot or something to point specifically what you're looking at if it's really, really kind of intricate and small. But now I've got my entire UVs all unwrapped. This whole thing is very clean UVs. So what you want to do is check your checkerboard. I want to hold right click, assign existing, and go to my checkerboard and just double check that everything's good. These little bolts are really tiny, so I'm going to scale them up quite a bit real quick so I can just double check, and they look great. They're perfect. I mean, they're as perfect as they're going to get. So, with that being said, I know I'm good there. And now I need to place all of these UVs in my 0 to 1 spot on my UV shell. Now these cubes are too big to really make out when they're sitting in that 0 to 1. The checkerboard isn't small enough to make out the proportions of these checkers very well. So it's really good to be able to scale them large, and now we're going to put them in that correct spot. And I've got the whole thing unwrapped. It's going to make it really, really simple to texture. This is probably, I don't know if this is harder to do or if modeling it's pretty harder to do. I think modeling is easier to understand because you're just kind of pulling this and moving this and kind of things like that, where this is, we're kind of cutting it into pieces and then laying it flat and just making sure it's smoothed out like a crumpled piece of paper kind of thing is kind of how I picture it being started. You got all these little whatever. So now I'm going to go to my tools, move UV shell tool. I'm going to highlight all of them. And now here's the fun part. I can go to tools, and is it under tools or is it under modify? It's under modify. And go to layout. Now it should be by default all set up for you, but just to make sure, I'm going to leave it at unfold 3D. If yours isn't at that, just click that checkbox. We shouldn't have to fix any non-manifold geometry. If you get an error at any time like that, don't move forward if you don't have to. Save it first in case it crashes, and then go back and try it. You can try it with or without it, but sometimes you will get that error that pops up. Would you like Maya to fix non-manifold geometry? Sometimes it works great. Other times it's like, oh my god, what happened, and the software crashes. So it's sort of a hit or miss. Packed together, non-overlapping, perfect. That's exactly what I want. I by default, this rotate shells is probably off. I'm going to leave it off for now, and then I'll show you what it looks like when you do have it on. Translate shells, yes, absolutely. Have that checkbox clicked off. I have shell pre-rotation off. I have preserve 3D ratios on, whatever that is. 1024 is fine, even though we'll probably texture it at 2048. Makes no difference because it's at the same texture size, so don't worry, ignore that. The thing I want you to focus on is this scale mode where it says uniform. Make sure that says uniform, right? and we're going to just lay out UVs. And now I'm going to zoom in on it in my UV editor, and now you'll see it actually uniformly scaled all of my UVs, so the checkerboard should be the exact same on everyone. Now, I always like to quickly double check it, but you'll see that they're all going to be identical size squares everywhere, right? They're all going to be identical, which is great. So that's what a great UV, before you texture it, you always want to check it with some kind of checkerboard. This is exactly what you're looking for. Employer, if you were doing your own little company, freelancing, I used to do that, and this is exactly what someone would want to see before pushing forward to the next step, where it's just where you would texture it, because if these don't work, the texture's not going to work. So anyway, so I'm going to undo so I get those back. Actually, Control Y, Y, Y. What I'm going to do next is what I'm going to do next is go to Tools, Move UV Shell Tool, and I'm going to do the layout again, except this time, or Modify, excuse me, it's under Modify. Under Modify, under the layout, I'm going to click that little rotate shells, and let's see what it does this time. And I'm going to zoom in. And now you'll see it's trying to rotate everything into fit, but I don't know if it worked any better than it did the last time. So Modify, Layout, and I'm going to turn off Layout Shells, and I'm going to click Layout again. Now for the final part of this, now this is perfectly fine if you want to texture like this, you could, but there's another, if you were doing this professionally, you wouldn't leave all of this space from 5.5 roughly to 1 empty. Absolutely not. So to go ahead and fix that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, I want to scale all these uniformly because I know they're all perfect right now and I don't want to mess that up, but I'm rotating them at like 90 degrees really quickly because I want to maximize my space here, and I feel like I'm basically focusing on this long one first, and if I can get this to fit, and I got to scale these all uniformly. This is optional, but it is very, very useful to know. And I want to maximize the space I have here. You'll see where I'm going with this in a second. And if you got to think of this as like a coloring book. So this is your coloring book right here, and you're just laying out how the page looks to color on. So anyway, so Tools, Move UV Shell Tool. Hopefully I can deselect that. Nope. But these, I'm going to just scale these back into place. But I feel like this is a pretty good start. And now what I'm going to do is rotate this and bring it up here. Now, a quick little tool that's cool, where this under the UV toolkit, align and snap, I can click this top left corner. It's going to snap it right to the edge. Now, I personally don't want it to sit right on the edge line. I want to have just a pixel or 3 off that line so I can see it easily when I open it up in Photoshop. Tools, Move UV Shell Tool, and you'll see how much larger these are. I want to see if that'll fit in there, because that would be amazing. Perfect. So I've just saved myself so much space on this by doing that. Tools, Move UV Shell Tool. Now what would be even cooler if this, I don't think that's going to work. No. That one won't work, unfortunately. No big deal. let's get that one out of the way for now. Now tools, move UV shell tool. I know I'm going to have this one sitting inside of this one for sure. And tools, move UV shell tool. These I just have to make work. So this one is probably going to have to, and this may or may not fit. I might have to scale this smaller to get it to fit. But these are probably going to have to be on that angle. So I have to come back to this long one. These three I'm going to have to come back to. Just a second. This one, I don't really have too much of a choice on this. Let me double check something real quick. And this is optional, this part, but it's definitely important to know how to do. I need it to be inside my 0 to 1. That will work. But am I eating too much space? I'm going to align this to the bottom right corner. So that eats up too much space for me. But it fits right there. And now, tools, UV shell tool. I'll move both of these together. I would love it if it fit right there, like so, but it doesn't look like it will. And I am so close to getting this to work. I think I can get it to work. And almost there. And what would be even cooler if I could have this upside down and make it a little bit easier for me to texture. Boom. That'll work great. And then the last thing, those are all of my bolts. I'm not going to worry about those. I still have these ones too. Ooh, almost forgot. Okay, I might have to wrap those on the angle. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure something out with those. Let's see. I really just need these to fit any way I possibly can get them to. And like I said, I might have to make this. It might not work with the current scale I have. That's definitely not going to work. But I can't help but try. How short is this one? Maybe I can get away with lining this up at the bottom. You never know. Ooh, no. And I still have this one. But I also still need to fit this massive thing. The little screw bolts here I'm not too concerned about. I might have to rescale this whole thing because it ain't gonna fit. Not the way I currently have it unwrapped in that size. So no big deal. I know this is too large to work with. Scale it down a little bit. I want to try to maximize everything I've got. And I'm keeping them all uniform. And if this will fit, we'll call it a day. I can get this thing to fit in here. Perfect. And then I still have all my bolts. Now, when I'm doing this, because I have the space to do it, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and try to put these in the same way so I know which one is which. Don't have to. It's really just for me as a personal reference. And now I know which bolts are which. Very, very simple process, but it could help you if you wanted each one to be unique and individual instead of all identical. You'll know which ones are going to look just from looking at your UV map without even having to look at the model and selecting it and just to figure out which one is which. So I know those are all in order or in the bolts section, but that's exactly, now I've saved myself basically from before. Remember I had from basically 5.5 roughly, in between 5 and 6 to 1, totally empty. Now I've really filled out the entire thing. So I'm going to roll with this one. I think this is good. It all fits in my 0 to 1 aspect ratio. Tools. Always good to double check. I want to let me select both of you. There we go. There we go. So now I've basically maximized my space as best as I possibly could. I know I still have a lot of empty spot. I just don't have enough shells for it the way it's laid out, but this will work very well. And all of my cubes on the checkerboard move UV show, tools, move UV show, just to show you really quickly, are still all identically in size because of that layout uniform. And you'll notice this one's on an angle, like they're more like diamonds now because they're on the, it's on a diagonal here. But that's exactly what I'm looking for when I do this. These little squares are all identical in size. So anyway, I know I took it a step further in order to get this to, you know, fill out this space in here. You do your best if you want to try to do it. It'll help the quality of your texture significantly. It's kind of what the professionals do. They try to maximize that 0 to 1 space as best as they possibly can. Putting things on an angle is always super helpful, especially on these longer pieces, the way I have it textured. Now, if I had done it without it having that seam here, I would have all of those, a lot more of these circular pieces, and it might not fit very well. Either way, it's all a matter of preference, honestly, but I think this way worked just fine. If you do have questions, feel free to shoot me a message. I don't think I have enough time right this second in this video. It would carry on for far too long to model the second piece, or unwrap, excuse me, the second piece. But you get the idea of where you're going with it. I will definitely try to touch base on it. I'll do a quick short little video on how to unwrap this one. You know what? I'm going to do it right now. So I'm not going to go through the whole process. The biggest difference is these bolts. They're going to be easier to select for you right off the beginning because they're not actually, I can just hold shift and double click the object, and then the rest of it would be the same however you want to do the unwrap. Everything else would be the same. The only difference is these bolts are offset. You probably have a little bit easier, oh maybe not, nope, yep. So you'll have to go through and you won't have those, you'll have to go through these and do those, you know, selections like this around to make sure you don't get anything incorrect. But yeah, that's literally the biggest difference, is just this part. The rest is the same. Totally the same. So anyway, that covers this unwrapping of the shield. Excuse my stretches. But this should be your final product. You're going to have a lot of stuff in your input. You're going to have a lot of UV tweaks and whatever. So you'll notice that even with your distortion, you see how they're all white? And I have a little tint of pink in there, but unless it's just my screen playing tricks on me, or maybe I turn this off. No, it didn't make a difference. So you'll see that it's totally white, and that's because they're all really, really well unwrapped. If you start to see that blue and all those other different colors, you'll know you'll need to unfold it. So that's another way to know that you've done a pretty good job when you look at this, when it's all kind of white like that. But anyway, I get carried away. I wanted to do an edit, delete all by type, history, and then that should do it. That's the video here in a nutshell. If you have any questions, shoot me a message, shoot me a screenshot with your message, because you just text, like writing it in text can be sometimes a little bit harder to understand with that. Well, let's put it this way. It's a lot easier to understand with your text as well as an image of what you're talking about. I'll be able to understand it much better. But yeah, if you have questions or if you're struggling or anything like that, shoot me a message on Canvas. Can't stress it enough. But other than that, yeah, I've said other than that like 6 times. Have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed the video, and take care. All right.